Hi everyone. Good morning. Hope you were all enjoying those lo-fi beats as much as our team was. Um, we are going to kick things off. So if this is your first time here at a office hours or workshop, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Ray, and today's workshop is a little bit different than if you joined previous office hours. This one is designed to be fully interactive. So we are going to ask you to have your ReadMe project out and build alongside Erdman. And let me switch the screen. So today we're talking about building a custom component with MDX. We are going to do a pretty large demo in that we are going to go step by step through every part of building a custom MDX component so you can get the behind the scenes of why we built this the way that we did, how to use it, how to customize it. I will say that this is kind of like a 100 level freshman seminar entry level course. There is a ton of customization and flexibility that you could build on top of this component. And if we get some interest, we'll probably do that in a later session as well. So out of curiosity, have any of you already explored the new custom components functionality that we released on Tuesday? Definitely let us know in the chat if you have. If you haven't, no worries. We will talk through that today throughout the session. So as I've already mentioned, I'm Ray. I'm ReadMe's product marketer, and I'm joining from sunny Oakland, California. Um, with me today is Erdman. I will say he's an MDX whiz. I'm an enthusiastic learner, so I will be learning alongside you. Erdman, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Andrew Erdman. You can just call me Erdman. We have a lot of Andrews here. So I'm a solutions architect at ReadMe, based out of Cleveland, Ohio. But yeah, I'm excited to walk you through some this cool component that we have. I've been working on a lot of different ones, but today we'll kind of start as simple as possible with the simple stepper. So yeah, whether or not you've played around with this before, or if you're totally new, hopefully this helps you out and maybe it sparks some ideas as well. So I'm excited to show it to you.
Yes. Okay, so before we dive into the good stuff, just a few housekeeping items. We are recording the session. Throughout the session, feel free to use the chat to drop thoughts, excitement, questions. Tommy's here from our support team, so he's keeping an eye on chat throughout the session. And then we also have Kelly, who is on the team that helped build custom components. So he can answer if you have more technical MDX, JSX, Markdown, etc. questions as we're going through the demo. As Erdman is actually demoing, if there is something that comes up that's pertinent to that moment, we will kind of stop, interject and say, hey, like we have this question about this. We will also do a more formal Q&A at the end. And feel free to use the chat throughout, ask questions, and we'll kind of table them and decide when to answer them. And then in the next few days, we will email out a recording. We'll also email out some subsequent docs and a blog post that helps you go through if you want to recreate this. So before we dive in, ReadMe Refactored is our new product experience that we launched last November. And it does represent the biggest product launch that we've done since we officially went live on Product Hunt just over 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure that if you are here, it means you're already on ReadMe Refactored since custom components is only available in this new experience. So I'll just do a high level overview of this. So our new editing UI brings all docs editing to your Live Hub. So that means that you can make live edits directly in your docs and then easily preview content and appearance changes before they go live. Foundational to today's workshop is that we upgraded our editor from a Markdown powered engine to an MDX powered engine. So this is very important for today. And there's also already 5 pre-built MDX components that are live in the new experience. Today, we're going to show you how to create one from scratch. And then we'll also look at our new ReadMe marketplace on GitHub, where you can find more components that are really easy to just copy and paste into your project. You can now connect GitHub and ReadMe together to sync bidirectionally. So that means that anytime a change is made in either ReadMe or GitHub, it saves and automatically updates in both places. It is just GitHub for now, but we are working on bidirectional compatibility with GitLab. So you should see that, hopefully coming this year. We also upgraded the entire search experience, so it's now faster and it yields better results. The API designer is our refreshed manual editor, enabling you to edit your API spec files directly in ReadMe or GitHub. And our API designer also fully syncs with GitHub bidirectionally. So do custom components. So anything that you're seeing has fully bidirectional compatibility with GitHub. And then finally, we've unified your docs and my developers. So my developers is now living in the top nav of your docs, making it easier to quickly see who's using your API and how things are performing. So this is what we mean when we say a simple stepper component. The reason that we're calling it simple is because actually Andrew Erdman built one the other day that I was like, whoa, this is so cool. This is like, it had like so much more interactivity. And I was like, this is amazing. Probably for this demo, we're gonna pare things back. So this is like, again, your entry level stepper component. And what this means is it displays numbered steps. It includes a headline and subtext for each step. It has clickable buttons that allow you to progress to the next step and return to the previous one. And then, as I mentioned, you can layer on all sorts of advanced customizations and visual styling. But for today's example, we're going to keep it like fairly high level just so that you get the basics. And we fully encourage you to build on top of this. All right, last slide before we go into the demo. Let's talk a little bit about MDX. Again, feel free to use the chat to let us know if you're familiar with it, if this is new to you. MDX blends Markdown and embedded JSX, and it's built on top of React. So if you've ever written Markdown, which I'm sure you have if you're a ReadMe user, you know how easy it is to format text with simple symbols, like using a hash sign for headers, or two asterisks to bold something for emphasis. MDX takes that simplicity and it combines it with the power of React components, allowing you to write interactive and dynamic content right inside your Markdown files. So you can kind of think of MDX as like a supercharged version of Markdown. It lets you mix plain text with React components to build interactive UI elements like buttons, graphs, terminal windows, or even responsive tables. And the React components give those components that dynamic behavior. So now as we build our stepper today, or any future components for that matter, we also want it to look good, right? We want to introduce some custom styling. We want to make it match our brand colors, etc. ReadMe's custom components feature already has built-in Tailwind CSS styling support. So Tailwind is a utility-first framework that helps us style elements quickly. So that instead of like writing these long CSS files, we can just add class names directly inside our components. And you'll see that today when Erdman starts styling the stepper. Okay, Erdman, over to you for the reason we are all here to learn how to build a custom component. And for everyone listening today, if you have your README project pulled up, I would highly encourage you to just follow along step by step. We're going to take things slow. We're going to explain each step and just make sure that yes, you all get to experience this so that as questions arise, you can ask them live.
Awesome. All right, that works. First things first, can you see my screen? Everything looking good? No?
I
You're good.
cannot.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I can. I'm sorry. That's a setting on my side.
I was like, oh man. Okay.
Nope. That's a
So,
Zoom
all right.
setting.
First step is done, but we will get to the meat of the sandwich here, so to speak. So I'm going to go through this, as Ray said, kind of in chunks. I'll do my best to sort of keep a normal pace, but for the sake of time, I won't go, too deep. And if we need to stop, that's totally cool, or we can, go back to certain steps at the end for sure. So first things first here, I'm going to go up to my content button in the top right. This is where the custom components feature is housed. So I'm going to pop in. And if you haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. You can browse some areas in the marketplace here to get some components, which we can talk about later as well. But the first step I'm going to do is just naming my component, right? So I believe we're going to call it Simple Stepper for today. So we can go ahead and click this Create button up here in the top right. And we can name it Simple Stepper. So I think right off the bat, we give you this nice little example, which is cool, but we do not need that. So I'm going to highlight and just take that out. So first step is naming it there. which is great. And we'll move on now. All right, so since we want our simple stepper to be actually dynamic, right? So that visitors, you can click back and forth like you saw Ray show. We're going to start by importing certain dependencies here. So namely the React use state and memo. So if I pop that in there, and let me know if I need to zoom in at all, Ray. Is this okay? I just want to make sure people can see. Everything look good?
Yes, I can see. What I'll also do is I'll drop in the code sample in the chat step by step. So if you want to copy and paste,
Yeah, that's
hopefully that works.
okay, cool. Thanks. So yeah, what this means is, this line basically imports the core React library with these two hooks here. Okay. And that's basically step one. Step two, what we're going to try to do now is we're going to pass children into this actual component. So to explain that a little bit, this simple stepper has individual steps. So we'll want to define the component to essentially accept children props within it. So in this instance, yeah, each step is going to be passed as a child component. So the children can be a single element, or it can actually be an array of elements, depending on how many children are passed. So I'm going to copy and paste this code here to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so what does this mean? Again, it defines the simple stepper component, which accepts a children prop, right? The children prop holds any nested elements that you need for your individual steps. And then you will see this little error pop up, which is totally fine. That just tells us that the component isn't complete yet, but we will ignore that. Okay, so step three, we're going to define the steps as an array, like I mentioned before. So depending on how the children elements are actually provided, they can act as a single React element or an array. So for this example, since we have a handful of steps, we're going to define it as an array. And I'm going to do that by copying this code and pasting it right here for you. Okay. So what does that mean? So here we use the use memo to create this array of steps. So it checks if children is already an array, and if not, it wraps it in an array. So this guarantees that the rest of the component can, essentially or uniformly, I guess, handle multiple steps. So that is step three. We're looking good. Step four, we're going to create a state variable. So to do that, I'm going to copy and paste this here, and we're going to pop it in. Okay, so that use state initializes the state so that the current setup basically starts at 0. So the first step is step 0 when active. The set current step is a function to update current step, so that when it's called, it changes the active step, right? So what does that all mean? The snippet basically, it initializes that state variable named current step, right? So all that's well and good, but before we move on, at this point, we're going to just do like a full review here and make sure we've got everything. So if I copy this, and maybe Ray, if you want to pop that in there in case people missed a step, that's essentially what it should all look like. So that's just the first 4 steps or so. And now that that's out of the way, we'll do kind of, I guess, more of the fun part, in my opinion, which is like styling the stepper component, right? So this would be essentially step 5, and it can be done a handful of different ways. I'm known to overload things with styles, but today we're going to try to keep it semi-simple. So we'll just define a JavaScript object called container style. And what I'm going to do is copy and paste that container style right here. Again, this can be done in different ways. This is just how I was messing around with it. But you can define the max width. You can put your margin, padding, all that fun stuff in there. So this object just holds the CSS styling for the main container of our stepper. So now that we've defined these styles for the container, we can add some spacing and things like that. I can paste this next step. Here we go. So this code defines a CSS style object and applies styling to the container holding the step indicators. So, the circles that show up in the current step. So it just adds a little bit of margin on the bottom, but you can do with that what you will. You don't actually even have to have it if you didn't want to. But the next step is to style each step indicator itself dynamically, based on whether it's active or not, right? So as you're going through step 1, step 2, step 3, is this step active? So to do that, I will copy and paste the next step here, which is the indicator style. So this function, returns a style object for each step. And it just dynamically adjusts the styles based on, whether it's active. Again, you can put whatever styles you want on there, and in the kind of the more advanced component that Ray was mentioning, you can actually, set certain props to change to specific stepper themes and things like that. So we can talk about that later. But for now, we're just going to kind of keep it as this, and we'll move on to the next part. The
Sorry,
next.
Erdman, before you continue, I just
Sure.
want to make a note about some of the things you're seeing. So, what we also allow for is JSX comments because we know that a lot of ReadMe projects, you have multiple admins. And so someone might make this component. And then, for example, Erdman might make this component. And then I come in and I want to use it and I have some questions. And so we're allowing you to add things like, why you set for this example, we are using the JSX comments to specifically state what each kind of value is doing, but you can also add comments for teammates. You can make instructions if someone wants to make edits to it. So this is a totally optional thing. This will not impact the behavior of the component, but it will allow you to better socialize this with your team, help them to understand why you made the choices that you did. The other thing is that when you make a change to this component at the global level, it will impact all places that it's used in the editor. So you might just want to say like, hey, check with me before you make a change to this because it's going to impact every page. So that's just something we built in for better collaboration. Okay, Erdman, thanks.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great point. Yeah, many times I'm putting code in there that people don't know what the heck's going on. So I highly recommend putting putting in comments. So next step here, let's see, where was I? Okay, so we're going to create the next and back buttons for this thing, right? So at the bottom, we're going to let the users toggle back and forth. And to do that, we will take this code snippet and pop it in right here. Essentially, this sets the appearance for the navigation buttons themselves. We just have some like internal padding and margins. Again, all of this is entirely up to you guys, but for the sake of time today, that's what we're going to use. And before we move on to adding the code that actually like controls the navigation itself between these steps, I just want to make sure we have everything that we need. So maybe again, Ray, if you want to paste that whole big code snippet. I'm going to double check and just paste everything here. Yep, looks good. Okay, so step 6. Now we're going to control the navigation between these steps, which is actually pretty simple. We're going to add the event handlers so that they can basically toggle through this stuff. So those are popped in now, and these two functions control the navigation between these steps by updating first, current
Sorry,
step.
Erdman.
Oh,
Give me one sec. Apparently Zoom has a character limit, so I'm gonna send the full code sample in snippets. We are
go
gonna
ahead.
figure out where to cut it off. Okay, so you're gonna get the first up to container style. And then I'm gonna add the next portion, which is the indicator style and the button style. Oh, that's still too long. Okay, well, we're gonna do it in another third. All right, so next you're gonna get the indicator style. and then the button style.
It must be all those comments you put in, Ray.
It is.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, sorry. So let's, Erdman, maybe we can start again with the lines 47 and 48 and just go through what those mean.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of stepping back here, I guess this would be step 6, which is the, navigation between steps, right? So these two functions here that I'm highlighting, these two control the navigation between current step state and the handle previous step state. So what this basically means is the handle, this one here, handle previous, decreases the current step by 1, but it never goes below 0. And the handle next increases the current step by 1, but stops at the very last step, right? So that's how you can handle that portion of it. And now I think we're basically almost to the end here. I think it's time to sort of, render this thing, right? So we can see the numbered circles, the current step content, the back and next buttons, all that fun stuff. So to do that, I'm going to copy, hopefully this lets you send it, Ray. It's a little bit large, but I'm gonna copy this code snippet and paste into here. Okay, so that's looking good. Was that able to send, Ray, before I move on?
Yes, we are good. We are under 1,000 characters.
Yay, okay, great. Okay, so sort of to describe this, and what all this means. And actually, that was the one step that was out of here, so I'll add this too. Here you go. So that right there defines a reusable simple step component used for each individual step itself, right? So it's it's something within this component. We just named it simple step. You can name it whatever you want. But the header prop basically displays the title of the step itself. So this thing here is like your H2. You can do this in a couple of different ways as well. You don't necessarily have to do it this way. But just for ease of use today, the children div here holds the detailed content for each of these steps. So it's basically letting you plug and play with these header and children. And the separation, I think, just makes it a little easier to maintain overall. So that is that step. And I think now this is good to go. Now, we do not see it currently in the preview window, because as we've been building this thing, nothing is going to show until we actually create this and show it here in the preview. So now that we've made it, the very last step, which is something that is very important here, is pasting it like so. So now that we have the simple stepper and we have the simple steps within our stepper, this renders nicely, and it should, if all went correctly, it should render here exactly how you'll see it, especially because I have a fixed width on it and everything. It should render exactly how you see it on the page, but first we can like test it out here. We can go through it, and that looks nice. We also have this cool little light and dark mode feature just to make sure it looks all good in light and dark mode, and it does. So that is awesome. It's working. Before I pop it in there, Ray, is there anything else we need to know before I hop over to the page? I guess clicking save is important, so you should definitely click save.
Yes, I was going to say, I have made the mistake of navigating away. It will prompt you, but just always good to save throughout. Anyone in the chat who is following along, let's take a break or just a second
Yeah,
to
sure.
ask if anyone has questions.
And as we're waiting, just to let you know, this is what essentially right here. So after your entire component code, everything here, and maybe, Kelly, you can, or anyone else on here can explain more if they have questions, but this is essentially what is literally placed on your Markdown page when you call this thing. So I'll show you here in a moment, but this is what will actually be thrown into the Markdown onto the page. So you kind of create the component here, and this allows us to actually see it in the preview, and then it's also going to put it directly on the page itself. And on the page itself, you can manipulate, these parameters. So that is that. I've saved it. So now if I want to go put it on my page, I'm going to pop out with this X button here, and I conveniently have an MDX page made, and all we have to do is a little bracket here, and you'll see that my simple stepper component pops up. So similar to reusable content, all you have to do is put that caret there, and then we'll choose it. And as you can see, that's what I was talking about when I said it would inject that. And we're good to go. You could alter this if you want, but I'll just click save. And now let's see if I view, there is my simple stepper. And ideally it should work in dark mode as well. Yay. All right, sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat, Ray. Any questions here on how that was put together?
I did see someone ask, is it possible to capture the full code as a file and attach it? Yes, it is possible. I will do that right now. And just to let you know, when we were saying we're copy and pasting, that is just for the sake of time. So this is something where we do have a marketplace. I will show that to you in just a second. Yes, actually, let's go over showing how to put it in the document again. So, Erdman, do you mind going back to the editing UI and just showing how to add the stepper component where it lives in the slash menu, and then as well as like some of the pre-built components like cards and accordion?
Yeah, for sure. So if you
Cool.
just do a caret there like so, uh this should pop up. My project doesn't have a lot of things, but it should pop up your component list here. And you can actually choose it directly from components, or if you wanted to actually input, some of our pre-made ones, you can just do a /, and we have a handful of components in here already, right? So we have like accordion, we have cards, columns, and tabs. So right now, what you'll see, at least as it is now, is that when you put this in, it's going to actually put the full code view in, and you can manipulate it. So if I put that in, and then I'll put my component in. So you can put both of these things on a page. When you save it, okay, it's going to save with the code. You're not going to actually visually see it until you click view, but that's how that works. So hopefully I went through that slow enough, but let me know. And again, so the idea here is that these are dynamic in the sense that the components, on the back end, but you can actually, it's not like you're set, you don't have to keep these, right? Like you can change all of these. You can have the one component on the back end, and then, reference them on any pages you want, and they can actually differ, right? So you can change these. You don't have to make, I actually had someone ask this a while ago, but you don't have to make, multiple stepper components to put on multiple pages, right? You can do one stepper component and put it on multiple pages and change it. So, all right.
Okay, I am just sending over. Let's hope that this works. That should be the full code sample. Um, and
One,
let's go show some other ones. Erdman, do you mind if I share my screen?
no, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Great. So let's also just if that file doesn't work, I hope it does. I just made that very quickly, but we do have a full step-by-step guide that's live on our blog. I think Tommy can pop that in the chat, but essentially what Erdman went through today with a similar level of explanation is all documented here. And then you do have that full code sample at the bottom. Let's find it. Oh, here. So here's that code sample. You can copy and paste it. Of course, you can make any changes to this. You can save portions of it to use in a component of your own. You can build on top of it. And then it also just goes through how to add it, and then how to make some edits to the text. Just for clarification, so if I change any of the header text or description text at the page level, it will only save for that page. Whereas if I make changes, for example, to the styling or to any of the navigation at the page at the custom components level in the content menu, that will impact everywhere the stepper component, simple stepper, is used across a ReadMe project. So I will say I learned React via building this component myself and writing this blog post. So I am not a super technical developer. I have a very basic understanding of HTML and CSS. So things like the README marketplace on GitHub are very great for me in that we have already pre-built some additional MDX components. And so what you can do, and I think Tommy will also pop this link in the chat, but we essentially have pre-built components that walk you through. So if you want to, let's say, have a toggle list so that things, if you want to have a drop down for this, you basically can find the MDX file and then you can already just copy and paste the code right into your project. So all of these are available, ready to use. We also have a way to upload your own. So if you build something and you're like, hey, this is really useful for me, I'd love to share it with the community. We welcome that. We love that. Please do. And also, we always love having questions in our Slack community and are really excited about this feature. I will say that it's kind of a virtually limitless thing. So once you get the handle on how to use React and Tailwind and start playing around, like you can really kind of go crazy on the customizations. And then quickly before we go to questions, let's just talk about the new docs. So we do have a whole MDX section in our docs. I'm just going to plug our technical writer, Mansa, right now. But if you haven't been to our docs this week, we got a glow up. So we're using some of our own MDX components in our project. And we also have some new pages on building custom components and just we'll continue to build on this as we continue to release more features related to custom components. Okay, so I think we have covered it. Just one heads up, if you want to get a feel for how custom or how MDX components work, these 5 pre-builts already exist in your editor. You do not need to pull them down from the GitHub marketplace. So if you just go into any guides or API reference page on your project and you use that caret, you should see accordion, cards, columns, tabs, and mermaid diagrams and be able to update them. You can see cards here. Mermaid JS diagrams are here. So that's a good way to kind of get familiar with the syntax structure, understand how to make kind of edits at the page level. You can also build these cards as your own components and customize them further and build them at the custom components level in your content menu. As I mentioned, we have this components marketplace on GitHub, new docs. Let's use our remaining time to take any questions. So as I mentioned, please join the community. We'd love to see you. We'd love to hear from you. We always post upcoming events, whether they are virtual or in real life. So we are actually, I'm saying this because I know that we do have some events coming up that are in person. We'll be at Write the Docs coming up in early May. We will be at the Postman conference in LA. We are doing some events live in New York. And then our company is actually going on an offsite next week, so we won't be doing a live event, live virtual office hours next week, but we'll be back in early April with a fresh series of those. And then as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to support@readme.io. And you can also use our intercom widget on our docs to ask questions. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So glad that some of you were able to follow along and see the component render live. Yeah, hope everyone has a great rest of their week and weekend, and we really appreciate you being here. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.